And Jack Doyle on the line.
Good morning, Jack.
Morning, Jack.
Is that Linda?
Hi, it's Simone.
Hi, Simone. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing, Jack?
Very well, thank you.
You didn't like my chess piece?
I didn't know what that was.
Yeah, it's a chess piece. Hold on, I gotta adjust it.
There you go.
Much better.
Mhm.
Chief, how are you this morning?
I'm good. And yourself?
Very well, very well. With this crowd, you may want to keep that mask on.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning, Hank.
Hey, Hank.
I can't hear anyone.
Did you put your video audio on the computer? There's a button you press so that you have audio. Oh, he can't hear me. Okay.
Is that it?
I can,
Write
we
it
can
on a
hear you.
paper. Show them on a sheet of paper.
Oh, okay.
Okay, hold it. I unplugged my headphones and I've got you on the speaker.
Okay. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you fine now.
Okay. Well, then you guess you can't use your headset.
Yeah, yeah. Good
Okay.
morning.
Good morning.
So we're waiting on, we just have Stuart,
Stuart and Chauncey.
Chauncey.
Chauncey's not in yet either?
Who's down on the bottom right there?
That would be
Chauncey's
Jack
here.
Doyle.
So there's Hank and there's Chauncey, I think on the bottom right. That's
No,
Jack.
that's Jack.
Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Good morning, sir. You have a great icon there. I like that.
I'm not sure what it is, but thank
It's
you.
it's a black and white telephone.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, we did a meeting yesterday. I was doing a meeting with some clients out in California, and 3 of the people that were on had Wilson the volleyball was that was their picture.
Yes.
I just thought that was odd that 3 different people thought of that. So
That's cute.
Hey, Keith Davis. Is he there?
Good morning.
Hi, this letter that I have, when am I to read it? I have to read it?
Why don't we do that when we get to that ordinance at the under the public hearings?
Under the public.
I assume Mr. Mankoff is not attending the meeting. If he is, he can speak during public comment like anyone else. If he's not, then I would say, for the sake of keeping everything organized, do it under public hearing number 1.
Okay, I believe he told Lisa he was not attending. And all the commissioners got a copy of this letter that I'm going to read.
all right, we do know that Stuart is joining us for
Yes.
sure.
He indicated he was. I mean, we can start. We have a quorum and
We
then
have quorum at this
when
point.
he's ready.
Well, it is 10 a.m., so we'll go ahead and call to order the meeting of the Town Commission, Tuesday, July the 28th, 2020, 10 a.m. Please join me for a pledge of allegiance. And I even brought us a
Hi there.
flag.
Look at that.
Not
Very
a flag.
I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance
to the flag
The flag
of the United
of
States
the United
of
States
America
of America.
and to the republic
Republic for
for
which
which
it
it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
Nation
under
under
God,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty
with
and
liberty
justice
and
for all.
justice for all.
justice for all.
Thanks for the flag. man.
Thank you. If we're going to pledge, we might as well have a flag, right? Well, first we'll start off, we have the local planning agency, so we'll call to order the LPA again on Tuesday, July 28th, 2020. And we have the first consideration of ordinance 373. Counselor?
There we go. Good morning, Mayor. Thank you. This is the proposed revisions to the town sign ordinance. The commission had what I would consider to be a very thorough discussion on this ordinance at your last meeting, just as a discussion topic. And as directed, we've now properly advertised and brought this back to you as the local planning agency. This is the first stop for this ordinance. Sign codes have to be reviewed by the local planning agency under state law. And then, in this case, town commission sits as the local planning agency. So dealing with the issues of convening a separate board, we don't have to worry about that with this. So here we are. If you have any questions, this is the document that, as I said, you all went through last month. But if you have any questions, I can try to answer those. Otherwise, a motion making a recommendation to the town commission would be proper.
Okay, anyone have any discussion or any further thoughts? I think we've been over this rather thoroughly. So I'll entertain a motion for approval of ordinance 373.
I'll make the motion to approve ordinance 373. Simone Benudi.
So we have a motion and a second.
Jack Doyle will second.
Jack Doyle, second. All in favor, aye.
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 All opposed, like sign. Okay, and that carries.
One quick question.
We
Do
are
all
then,
of our town signs conform? Or will
say
they,
one more time.
do all of our town signs conform? Like the signs in front of the town hall and the gate?
The short answer is yes, and by way of a little bit more explanation, the main thrust of the ordinances before you deals with temporary signs. We didn't change any of the requirements for permanent signage, monument signs, permanent wall signs. What was on the books remains. The main thrust of this ordinance was to bring our code into conformance with current law on temporary signs.
Okay.
Like, election signs and things of that nature.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on to item number 2 of the planning agency. We've got ordinance 375, and this is amending the code chapter 32. Counselor again.
Thank you, Mayor. As directed at the last commission meeting, we've brought to the local planning agency ordinance 375, which proposes to change our process internally to make review by the town's zoning commission of any matter that it would have authority to review discretionary at the option of the town commission. Currently, your code as written makes certain review mandatory. This would allow the town commission to make a determination if it did not feel review by the zoning commission would be any benefit to the town to not require that.
Okay, and everyone understands this is just because of the way we're structured and the way people are in or out of town. We're trying to expedite to some extent, expedite things that come before the commission, because sometimes it may take 2 or 3 months to get everybody together to even have a zoning commission meeting. Because people are not necessarily here 12 months a year. So what we're trying to do is just make sure that we have the option, at least to make a decision in the absence of a zoning commission, if it doesn't warrant that kind of a review. So we need on, first of all, any discussion on this, again, included in your packet, but pretty straightforward. Okay, in the absence of any discussion, then I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance 375.
I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
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 All opposed, like
Aye.
sign. Okay, any other discussion on this then?
No.
Okay, in the absence of other discussion, then we are formally adjourned as the local planning agency. And we will re-adjourn, or we will reconvene as the town commission for agenda additions, deletions, and any substitutions.
I have none, no.
Anything at all, Linda?
No, nothing at all.
Okay, and I'll dispense with mayor's comments, although I know that's the reason a lot of you dialed in today was just to hear those. But we'll move straight to the consent agenda. Minutes for June 23rd. We've got the minutes, the police department report, and the paver agreement 80 on Curlew that were included in our package. I'm sure you've had a chance to review those. A motion for approval
I'll
of the
make the
consent
motion.
agenda.
And I'll make,
Okay.
Mr. Beninudi will make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, a second.
Seconded.
Seconded by Jack Doyle. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor, aye.
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 All opposed, like sign. All right, thank you, folks. So we'll move on to the regular agenda, and I'll turn that over to you, Ms. Stumpf.
Okay, as I indicated at our budget workshop and in the memos that I've sent to you, today's meeting, we have to set our first budget hearing. It goes out with the tax notices, and we've done a lot of moving and compromises by some of our commissioners. And we've come up with September 18th, if in fact the meeting has to be held in person. We still don't have anything from the governor, whether he's going to extend the virtual meeting from August 1st, which is when it's set to expire right now. We hope that he will, and every indication has been that he will. But until then, we have to send these notices out. So what I'm proposing is September 18th. Stuart and have agreed to come down if in fact the meeting is 18th. That's the last possible day I can have it based on the trim. So that's the date we're proposing for the first hearing. The second hearing will have to be a week later. If it's virtual, we can postpone it till the following week. But at this point, we're just setting the first budget hearing for the 18th of September. And we have to do a millage. At the budget workshop, you all gave me some direction of things you wanted to consider. And I sent you out a memo that reflects what the millage rate would need to be if the budget was completely funded by our revenues and the taxes. I gave you an option taking 175,000 out of the undesignated fund balance. And I gave you another option, if you took the entire shortfall out of the fund balance, what the millage rate would need to be that we set forward. I will tell you, as I indicated in the memo, I'm not in favor of, at this point, going with that very low millage rate where you fund the entire thing from your fund balance. I don't have my state revenues yet. I still don't have my insurance renewals yet. So there's too many variables right now for us to be put in that position. So I'm looking for some direction, whether you would like to move forward to 3.3026, which funds it completely, or the 31750, which takes 175,000 currently out of the fund balance. Now, as the numbers change, that number could change also. So.
And just as a reminder, we can always go backwards. We can't go forwards. We can't raise it.
Absolutely. We can
We can
reduce
come
our,
down.
right. In September, we can reduce to any number we feel we're comfortable with. Won't be able to go any higher than the millage rate that we set today.
So my personal goal, my preference would be to not raise the millage rate at all. That's the ultimate goal. I call that the September goal. In the interim, I think the better part of wisdom is to leave it as the town manager has budgeted, to approve that temporarily until we know what the final numbers are. Once we know the final numbers, we can make a decision, and hopefully that decision would be to bring that back to the same millage rate it is now. There would be no increase in the millage rate, and hopefully the numbers will reflect that. And then we can take whatever difference that is, which I would anticipate is going to be less than we're looking at now, and take that from the overage of the current year's budget. or the savings of the current year's budget, and apply that toward the current budget. So you would have that at 3.3. What's the magic number?
To fund it completely, to reflect the funding completely by the revenues that are reflected, it would be 3.3026.
Oh, two, okay.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's a good approach.
Second that.
I agree.
I agree.
Is this what, Linda, this was in your notes that you sent, that number?
The July 22nd memo that I sent to all of you,
Yeah,
yes, it had the three options there.
okay, this is the first option right there.
Yeah, this is the option.
first
Basically, right now, all we're not, it's September before we finalize the number. What we're saying right now is this is what we're going with tentatively. This is what funds the entire budget. And then between now and then, Linda will get her real numbers on several categories.
Okay, I'm sorry I'm late. I was having trouble signing in.
So
No
just,
problem. No
Okay,
problem.
but
at all.
we can go down but not up, as I recall.
That's correct.
Correct. So what we want to do is just leave it alone, and then we can always come down to the September meeting.
Okay,
Incidentally, while you were gone, Chauncey, we volunteered you to do a couple of things. So
what?
while you were out, we volunteered you to chair a couple of committees. We'll fill you in later, okay?
That's very nice. That tells you how absenteeism doesn't help.
No, I think it's the right thing to do. I think, if we had no other choices, I think we could talk about it and, ad infinitum on the numbers, but we have all the choices in our favor. The town manager has projected a budget. I think that's what we go with for the time being. We come back in September and we tweak it to what we feel it needs to be. And hopefully that will be exactly where it is right now.
and just to be clear, Mr. Mayor, this pursues that sort of middle of the road path that we discussed at the budget workshop where we take 175,000 out of the overage, but we have the wherewithal and the flexibility to put that back in and leave the millage rate unchanged at the September meeting.
Yeah, well, actually, it's a step.
Actually, no, it isn't.
Jack. What I'm saying is just leave it alone right now. Don't put anything in. We're gonna come out with the initial millage rate at 3.3 and change. We know that we're gonna have overage. We know that. We have, I say overage, I'm saying we've done such a good job of managing the town manager and the staff. We know that we're gonna have a surplus. We just don't know exactly what that number is yet. And I think before we decide we're gonna put a certain number toward next year's budget, let's find out exactly what the numbers are. Let's find out what our savings are with insurance, what our savings are in some of the other areas where we may have over projected for next year's budget, and hopefully those will come down. And then based on that, in September, we can say instead of 3.3, we're going to bring it back to the original millage rate, which it is right now. And I think that's the smartest thing to do because it gives us total flexibility instead of partial flexibility by putting some money in now and some money in later, which really doesn't affect it one way or the other.
I think it's a prudent way to handle it.
Makes sense.
Okay. All right, so let's, with that said, then, the millage rate, we need to have a motion, Counselor, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, so I would like to entertain a motion that we, and actually, Counselor, you may want to give us the exact words here because I want to make sure we're clear. We
The
want a
motion would be, well, it would be to set the tentative millage rate at the number you've decided, and to set the date, time, and place for the first budget hearing on September 18th at 5:01 at the town commission chamber.
Okay, and let's clarify, Linda, specifically what that millage rate is.
So you would set the tentative millage rate at 3.3026 with the meeting to be held on September 18th at 5:01 at the town commission chambers.
Okay, so that's the motion.
I will make a motion.
Okay, so we have the motion that, do I have a second?
I
I'll
second.
second.
Okay, so Hank, Seaman, we've got second there, all in favor, aye.
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 All opposed, like sign. All right, thank you, folks. We have now the town manager's report.
Okay. Let's start with our favorite code enforcement. I actually have a lot for code enforcement. I have several cases that have received a friendly notice and NOV, a notice of violation, and they haven't responded. So we have a special magistrate hearing set for August 26th at 2:30 here. It'll be a Zoom meeting. That is going to be for 90 Curlew. It is going to be for 1575 Land's End Road. It is also going to, let's see, 1960 and 4020 South Ocean. We received a complaint about rentals and they received a notice from us. We haven't been able to track anything down to show whether they're doing any more short-term rentals. So we're just sitting on that and watching to make sure we keep on top of them. They have been advised that they're not allowed to do any short-term rentals in Manalapan. I've had a complaint from 1235 Land's End about cars parking in the swale. And code enforcement has met with the property owner to address the issue. 940 South Ocean Boulevard, we received a complaint regarding water that's a runoff. And the owner from 960 is going to do some landscaping changes to change the pitch of the driveway so that the water runs in the opposite direction and doesn't go onto the other property. 110 Churchill has received we've received a complaint about the overgrowth in front of the construction site. So Manny has met with them. And 1500 Land's End Road, there was a complaint regarding their vegetation impeding the sidewalk, and they've been contacted and they will cut it down. So that's my code enforcement. I have lots for that today, don't I?
You've been busy.
I know. Well, there's people that are not paying attention. So the next thing is our favorite, COVID-19. As you know, or as I'm sure you've seen, even though you're not here, our cases continue in Florida and Palm Beach County to increase. I received some stats at a Friday meeting that I was at that were worrisome. A month ago on Friday, Florida had 114,000 cases, and on this past Friday, there were 312 cases, which is a 253% increase in the number of cases. Palm Beach County, on that same a month ago Friday, had 11,840 cases, and this past Friday had 29,000, which was up 145%. There were 960 hospitalized in Florida, and Palm Beach County had 604 people hospitalized as of Friday. So my lobby is still closed to the general public, and I'm going to keep it that way for as long as I can. I just don't want to expose anyone. As you know, we had a possible scare where there was an exposure. So everyone was tested and everyone has come back negative. So thank heavens it was just a scare. Palm Beach County's facial covering order has been extended to August 23rd. So everyone in the county is required to wear a facial covering unless they can do the social distancing of at least 6 feet.
And Linda, can I jump in real quick?
Go ahead.
Just
Yep.
for everyone's information, if you didn't read it in the paper, yesterday the court denied there's a lawsuit challenging the mask order by a group of citizens. Yesterday, the court denied their motion for an emergency injunction, finding no constitutional infringements and no likelihood of their success on the merits of their lawsuit. So, there's about 3 or 4 of these lawsuits challenging mask orders throughout the state. And at this point, the courts are pretty much aligned on how they're ruling on these arguments. So just for information on the mask thing, that's where that stands in the courts.
Oh, it's opened. The occupancy is very, very low. And they've had to put a number of their employees full-time to part-time status. And they just don't have the business at this point to keep them full-time. So they're hoping that it will pick up some, but they're at a 20% occupancy. So that's, I don't know how long they'll be able to stay open at that occupancy, but we're keeping in touch. Both the chief and I have been in close touch with Tim, their manager, and we're doing everything we can to help them out if there's anything that we are able to do. And they're not the only hotel in the area that is suffering from the same thing. People are just not traveling the way they had hoped. Library painting. project will start. It's starting this week. They're moving the vegetation back, cutting some of it down. So I expect that within a week, as long as the weather is good, we'll have the library painted white like the rest of the town building. Really, it needs a little bit of a facelift, and I think that'll be really, really nice. And when everybody gets back down, the vegetation will be back in place and growing. So we're happy about that. An August meeting. At this point, I don't know if we're going to hold one. If we have the ability to have virtual and we have some matters that we want to discuss, we can have it. We normally don't have an August meeting because we have 2 in September. So I'll keep you posted on that as to whether we're going to have it or not. 1940 South Ocean Boulevard, at the last meeting, I told you that they're getting ready to put a tunnel in. And we thought that by the 1st of August, they would be working on that. And now it's been pushed to the mid-August. Chief hasn't gotten an exact date. The roadway will have some limitations. So we'll keep everybody posted as soon as we find out about those. And that's all I have for you today. Any questions? Anything else that wants to know? No? Good. All right, Mayor, it's yours.
Very good. All right. Public comments. Did we have any public comments at all?
No, I've not heard from the public.
You don't have any, right? I just have the one letter from the attorney that I'll read before we do the ordinance.
Public hearing, yes.
Okay. Do we have any other business anyone needs to introduce?
I have none.
Okay. So that being said, we'll move to the public hearing section. We've got consideration of ordinance 370. And I'll turn that back to you, Counselor.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll read the ordinance by title. This is ordinance 370, ordinance of the Town Commission of the Town of Manalapan, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances at Chapter 151 zoning, Section 151.003 definitions to revise the definitions for accessory use or buildings and dock, to redefine both terms to allow for docks that are or would be accessory to a single-family residence to be constructed and used prior to the construction and use of the principal single-family residence. Further amending sections 151.0631031431832232363343383 and 423 to restrict such dock construction and use to the owners and for a maximum of 2 years, and also to provide new regulations regarding floating docks and lists, and at section 151.561 to clarify internal consistency, providing each of it and every other section and subsection of chapter 151 shall remain in full force and effect as previously adopted, providing a conflicts clause, severability clause, authority to codify an effective date and for other purposes. This has gone through LPA and first reading. This is back to the commission for second reading we had made some minor edits as directed at first reading, having to do with the length of time that the dock could be in place prior to building permits for the principal residence being pulled.
Yeah, no, I think that accurately reflected, based on what I read, that accurately reflected what we talked about. Any other comments? Any? I know there was a specific letter.
I have a letter that's the attorney asked to be read into the record.
Please.
It's rather lengthy, so we'll see how I do. Dear Mayor and Commissioners, this firm represents Barry Haas and Silver, the owners of the property located at 1650 Land's End Road. I have watched the video of the first reading of ordinance 370, and I thank the town clerk for reading my letter into the record, as well as the commission for listening to and commenting on my letter. Nonetheless, the discussion by the commission at the first reading of 370 does not provide support for the passage of 370 as what the town seemingly wants to accomplish. To be able to establish its water lines now can already be accomplished without the need for 370. In light of what I understand is going to be a Zoom hearing on July 28th before the commission for second reading, I am writing to you once again on behalf of our clients in opposition to 370 for the additional reasons the first letter already part of the record below. Ordinance 375. I have already advised you that section 151.676 of the Town of Manalapan Code requires that 370 shall first be submitted to the Zoning Commission for its report and recommendations. Such required procedure has not been followed for 370, and for that reason alone, if passed today, 370 is void, meaning 370 would be invalid from the onset. I note that the town is now considering ordinance 375 on on to revise the role of the zoning commission by making its review authority optional at the discretion of the town commission. While the town clearly has the authority to do so, and we take no position on the merits of ordinance 375 at this time, the town cannot legally amend 370 without review by the zoning commission, as this requirement of mandatory zoning commission exists at the time of review and passage of 370. 370 at the time of processing and passage clearly requires that any such change shall first be submitted to the zoning commission. In fact, in review of the proposed 375, the town reaffirms that such a review of the zoning board is required by simply reading the 4 whereas clauses included but not limited to the first whereas clause, which references revisions to the zoning code and the proposed changes to section 32.919, specifically 32.19 paren B. Passage of 370 is improper and is no different than what occurred in the case of O'Connor versus Dade County, in which the court ruled that adoption by county commission of zoning plan with respect to certain property was improper, where commission did not first seek recommendation of county's development impact committee as clearly and mandatorily required by the county code. 1300 Lands End Road, at the first reading, there was a statement made that there are docks which exist where there has never been a house. The Parr residence on 1300 Land across from the library was referenced. Such a reference to this being a lot without a dock is disingenuous, as the area across the street from the residence is part of the same lot with one PCN 42, 43, 45, 10, 19, 0, 0, 0, 0, 40. Additionally, it is our understanding that this area across the street provides septic service for the condominium to the south and thus is not even a buildable land. The easement, the commission seems to think that 370 should be passed because Mr. Seaman has done the town a favor by granting an easement to the town. Although it should not be pertinent, it should be noted that the easement was not granted by Mr. Seaman, but it was actually granted by the prior owner of the lot. Of course, Mr. Seaman purchased the property subject to the recorded easement. In any event, the mentioning that there is a hardship because Mr. Seaman or the prior owner could not dedicate the easement property because doing so would cause the property not to be buildable is irrelevant. Easements are given to municipalities and utilities all the time. There is no hardship relating to when the dock can be built because an easement has been provided to the town. The location of the dock has already been determined. There is no reason that the dock needs to be built before the town can install its water lines. Commissioner Johnstone wisely stated that you are putting the cart before the horse, allowing the dock to be built first without the residents. He is correct. Conclusion, I have spoken to Mr. Seaman and he is a fine man, so in no way is this opposition a personal attack against him. The position of our client is merely that the town must follow its regulations and that allowing a dock without a residence is not something that is allowed by any zoning code of which we are aware. However, the town repeatedly is not following its own regulations and seem focused on bending over backwards to allow Mr. Seaman to build his dock without a residence first on the lot. Thus, we once again respectfully request that 370 is first reviewed by the zoning commission for its report and recommendations as required by the town code, or that 370 is brought forward to the commission once 375 has passed, and 370 is revised to allow only for existing docks which remain as a result from when a previously existing single-family home has been demolished. Sincerely, Jason Mankoff. Oh my gracious. Okay.
I think everybody had a chance to see that and read through it. Thank you, Linda, and thank you, Mr. Mankoff, is that correct? For the letter. Any other comments or anything else from the town? Any other neighbors?
No
Any
other
public
comments from
comment?
any other. No,
Okay.
there were none others.
All right, so we have consideration of that ordinance with everything. Any discussion from the commission?
Mr. Mayor, I had a question about it.
Yes, sir.
I think Linda probably knows this better than I, but what did we grant the easement to Mr. Parr for?
The easement for Parr was actually Mr. Benjamin's property, I think, at that point, and that was not buildable because
Library.
That was the water line that-
property was donated.
It's a
It's the
water
water
line.
line.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's where our utilities come across from the other side.
Yes.
Okay, so let me just understand this. I thought that originally was set up for a water line, for water coming through.
Which are we talking about? With
The property that used to be Benjamin's and then turned into Parr's easement. And then we found out that there was I believe, a commercial area that nobody
There's-
knew about right just north of Parr's property.
It's not commercial. It's it can be multifamily and it still is that.
Okay,
But there are two lines required to go,
it's just wires that come
Right.
across there. or-
two lines. One is from PARS and one is from Commissioner Siemens.
Okay. All right, I'm just curious about the fact that there's this second easement.
There was a,
There are actually going to be multiple easements by the time we finish everything, because we have to come across over onto South Ocean Boulevard on an easement as well.
Okay, all right, just a question.
Okay, anything else, folks? All right, I'll entertain a motion for approval of ordinance 370.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
We've got the motion and second. All in favor, aye.
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 All opposed, like sign. Okay, motion carries. So our consideration of ordinance 371, which is to eliminate the requirement of RCOM to review and approve the docks.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 371, ordinance of the Town Commission of the Town of Manalapan, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances at Chapter 151 zoning, sections 151.063, 103, 143, 183, 223, 263, 343, 383, and 423. To eliminate the requirement of RCOM review and approval for docks, providing that each and every other section and subsection of Chapter 151 zoning shall remain in full force and effect as previously adopted, providing a conflicts clause, severability clause, authority to codify effective date, and for the purpose, this also is second reading.
Okay, and this is all pretty straightforward. We talked about this several times. Any comments?
No,
Lisa, do we have anything at all?
had none.
No, we have no comments.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion for approval of ordinance 371.
again, I'll make a motion.
I'll second the motion.
Seconded.
So we have a motion and a second. You've got that, Lisa, on?
Yeah.
I do, thank
We
you.
have 2
Jordan's
seconds on that one. All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, like sign.
Mhm.
All right, thank you, folks. That carries. And then we have finally ordinance 372. Commission or council.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 372, ordinance of the Town Commission, Town of Manalapan, Florida, providing for the adoption of 10-year water supply facilities work plan pursuant to subsection 163-3177-6C of the Florida statutes, providing for the adoption of amendments to the comprehensive plan in order to implement the work plan, providing for the adoption of objectives and policies within the various elements of the comprehensive plan, and providing for intergovernmental coordination of the regional water supply plan with adjacent local governments, providing for transmittal to the state land planning agency, providing a conflicts clause and a severability clause, providing an effective date and for other purposes. And again, this is second reading.
So second reading, and again, we've gone over this in great detail. Any comments at all? Any conversation?
There were no comments. And this was
comments.
presented at the last meeting by NC Consultants, and they went through it very thoroughly for you.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Chauncey.
Chauncey, we got a motion and a second.
Second,
Sure,
Okay.
okay.
So we got a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
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 All opposed, like sign. Okay. We have, see, I even turned the page this time before adjourning the meeting.
No,
We have
not yet.
consideration of ordinance 373.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 373, ordinance of the Town Commission of the Town of Manalapan, Florida, amending Chapter 158 signs by amending regulations for commercial and non-commercial signs within the town to comply with constitutional requirements, revising definitions, exemptions, prohibitions, and the design and permitting requirements, providing that each and every other section and subsection of Chapter 158 signs shall remain in full force and effect as previously adopted, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, authority to codify an effective date and for other purposes. This is first reading, and it comes to the Town Commission with a recommendation of approval from the local planning agency.
Okay, and again, we went over this in some detail, and good job, Counselor, sort of retooling, taking all of our magic comments and getting those into the documentation for this first reading. Any comments, any conversation about this?
None whatsoever. No,
Okay.
none.
So I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I'd
I'll
make
make
a.
a motion for approval. Simone Benuti.
Simone Benuti and Hank, is that a second then?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right, thank you, folks. That carries, and then we are ordinance 375.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 375, ordinance of the Town Commission of the Town of Manalapan, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances at Chapter 32 Administration, Sections 3216 through 3219, to revise the role of the Town Zoning Commission by making its review authority optional at the discretion of the Town Commission, and at Chapter 151 zoning, Section 151 676 amendments, to repeal the mandatory requirement for proposed zoning code amendments to be reviewed by the Zoning Commission, providing that each and every other section and subsection of chapters 32 administration and 151 zoning shall remain in full force and effect as previously adopted, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, authority to codify an effective date, and for other purposes. And this also comes to the Town Commission on first reading with a recommendation of approval from the local planning agency.
Okay, very good. Any conversation there, comments from the community?
No comments from the community.
Okay. Any conversation within the commission? All right, I will entertain a motion for 375.
I'll make a motion.
So we have a motion,
I'll second it.
we have a second, all in favor, aye.
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 All opposed, like sign. Okay, that carries. Okay, so, and before adjournment, just quick notes. Lot of people, Linda and I talked with Tim Nardi up at the O as a good example. 295 people lost their jobs this week. There are people out there that are hurting, in ways that we can't even begin to understand, hurting just because they've lost their job. So if you get a chance, reach out and do something, help somebody, do something you normally wouldn't do or you normally do anyway. But take an opportunity to stop and realize we are remarkably fortunate human beings to be living here and have wonderful lives, wonderful families. A lot of people don't have that same opportunity. So, go out of your way to help somebody, say something nice. We're doing things with people, even as simple as someone who comes and helps us with the house. Her husband lost his job, but it turns out he's a remarkable electrician. So, we've been using him outside to work on some of the landscaping lights and doing some things we would not normally do, but it keeps people, with an income, and it helps people that you will never see and never know. So make a point to reach out, clean your closets out, clean your garage out, whatever you're doing, give it to people who can really use that right now, because it's we're not at the end of this thing, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. I don't mean necessarily the COVID, and I hope that's not true, but just the impact of this, the financial impact, especially as it goes to people who are going from paycheck to paycheck. It's really impacting a lot of folks out there. So go out of your way, go out of your way to help somebody, and I promise you it'll be worth it. So with that, we are through with our
Mayor,
agenda.
Hang,
Yep.
I have one comment. I wanted to include it in my manager's report. I have a sad note that I have to tell you all. A prior mayor, Tom Gerard,
Mm.
passed away.
Hmm.
Did he pass away last week? This last week. He was really well thought of and did a wonderful job as the mayor of Manalapan. So I'm getting upset. Oh, gracious. That's it. I just wanted to make you all aware that he did pass away.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I would like between now and the next meeting, I would like to determine exactly what we're going to do to recognize that, because he had a great impact on the community. A lot of the things that we're working on right now are things that he brought to the table. The water lines, doing some of the things he fought very hard for to get these things done. And I would like to do something for as we go along, as has been the case with every person that's passed away in the community. But he touched a lot of lives. He was a good man, and he did a lot of good for this community. I can tell
He
you
did.
that.
He did. So I just wanted to let you all know that.
If you would, I'll be happy to work with you, Linda. And let's figure out if we can do a proclamation or whatever we can do, something that will recognize the great work he's done in the town of Manalapan. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Right, everybody else okay?
Mhm.
Sir.
On a personal level, everybody okay?
Oh, yeah.
Good, okay. Well, thanks for taking the time, folks, and we are officially adjourned.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
take
you.
care.
Have a good week.
You have a
Thank
good
you.
week.
All right.
Nice
God
to
bless
see everybody.